We're at BJ's shop in Las Vegas.
It flies nose proud more than any other truck.
Hey,
What's going on?
who are you?
BJ Baldwin.
What's up, guys? We're here. We're at BJ's shop in Las Vegas.
I'm following him with his ice and with trauma.
We are here for LOKI. Just to cover a badass truck of his and go test. So we're loading up right now. He's getting this ice bath ready. I think he's got bad intentions here.
We're gonna go out and test the car. Where are we gonna go?
We're going to go to Northtown. It's one of my test areas, so I have like a 4.6 mile loop right there. We do suspension development there. We also use Sloan for some of the high-speed stuff.
Yep.
This is a little bit more of a gritty area. It's got some jumps and some big holes and stuff like that.
BJ and I have been talking. And again, just thank you for the opportunity.
Hell yeah, thank you.
You got the jump on me heavy there.
All right.
But we're gonna just load up right now, and we're trying to beat the weather. There's rain coming in, so we're just kind of looking to go, and we're getting out of here. was that?
It's amazing. Wow.
Badass.
Thanks, brother. That's
Awesome, calculated, badass driving.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
We had a really good rip right there. Great success on that one. Awesome driving. We took that last road rip and everything's good. Now we're loading back up. Evan, you missed a spot. You missed a spot. Let's talk about, we see you. We see you.
Manny.
That's Manny. Manny, say hi. Say hi to the people. Manny's been busting his ass to clean this thing up after a rain day today. Have you raced trophy trucks your whole life? Like, or at least for the off-road portion?
I primarily raced buggies when I was younger, and I raced buggies for about 5 years and then got into unlimited production truck.
Where did pre-runners come in?
Pre-runners are an instrument for unlimited truck racing, trophy truck racing. We don't get to see corners very much. The same corner on the race course. If it's one way, we obviously only get one chance to hit that corner correctly or hit this jump or this bump or whatever. It's very, very hard to get them to slow down for any kind of emergency or anything like that. So we use pre-runners to get a look at the course. We program notes in a GPS system and a monitor right here. And then oftentimes we'll have all the dangers marked, all the corners and all the jumps and everything marked. And we'll get that stuff read to us throughout the race so that we can have a much higher pace than if we were to just see it for the first time during a race.
So when you started racing unlimited truck, the first pre-runner you guys used,
Actually,
it was
the
Darth?
first one was Darth. That truck was built in 2003. It's got a lot of miles on it. It's been a really good truck, and it still performs and handles every bit as good as modern day pre-runners.
That's a true tube chassis, center pivot, traditional like trophy truck with a body kind of thing, right?
It's a street truck with a race truck kind of wrapped around it with a lot smaller motor.
SUVs just, they hit different, right? They're special. Like their proportions are insane.
Very special.
And not only that, they do really well because they have weight over the back like all the time. So they don't want to get stuck as easy. Like they do things different.
I can stop in a wash. I can back up. I can turn around. I could look at whatever I wanted to look at, in San Felipe. In Darth, I can't do that.
Yeah, you got to be prepared where to stop.
Stuck.
Sure.
I am not able to turn around at all in most of the washes and race courses and go look at something and have like another look at something and get a note right. Darth's 7,400 pounds and this is 5,800, so it's a lot lighter and it gets better traction. I could do that with this particular pre-runner.
What year is this Blazer?
It's complicated.
It's not that simple, really.
This is a 1978 Blazer, 1991 Stepside Silverado, and a 2003 Silverado pickup truck.
Okay.
So it's kind of all of those blended together.
I got into off-road and pre-runners. I kind of explained to you, like I raced District 37 on my motorcycle when I was younger. And then I would see like a couple rangers and stuff like marking the course and I didn't know what they were.
Yeah.
And then I like discovered just that whole program and fenders and what's in the bed, man, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But 2000, 2001, there was forums. There was DesertRangers.com. There was RaceDesert.com, which is probably still going. Yeah, and everybody's kind of cycled through that. It's in off-road. And there was the show and tell part of the forum.
Yeah.
And for me, like being like a builder now, but also just like always being passionate about the Prerunner part, this was one of the show and tell items on that forum.
Yeah.
And it was John Binning had it, that was part of Race Desert, and John Binning's still around.
Yeah.
And Nate with Blitzkrieg, Nate Hansen, who's also a pro BMX rider, he was the one constructing this thing. It was one of the original, like besides Herbst, it was one of the original cars that had billet upper arms for back in the day.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't a lot of cars.
Yeah.
You mentioned Adam Householder had this.
Yes.
And then that's who you purchased it from?
Yeah.
So what year was that?
I think that was 2010 or 2012 when I got it from Householder. Funny story with Householder, we were competitors, and he wanted to sell it to me. I asked him, he said he was selling it. I asked him what he wanted for it. He wanted $120,000 for it. Like a month later, Damon Flippo was like, man, I really want to buy the Blazer. Adam said he'd sell it to me. I was like, well, how much is he selling to you for? He said $65,000.
Oh.
So I was like, all right, I'll give you the money. You buy it and sell it to me.
Yeah.
And, I'll give you, you'll make 10 grand off it. He's like, no, just go get it. I'll just tell him that somebody's coming down to get it. And I didn't talk to Adam throughout that. I just went, got the cash and picked it up.
Sure.
He's kind of surprised to see me.
Yeah, with a different price.
Yeah, with a different price.
Why did you get this? Like, what was your intention with getting this thing?
Kind of my dream car is like a built Blazer. This is it. I had a 74 Blazer when I was in high school. That was lower. It had a 383 with 456 gears, and it was really, really fast for back in the day. And I looked at Mark Newhand's Prerunner that was for sale back in the day. I couldn't afford it, of course. I was very, very young. And he ended up selling it to somebody else. Great truck. John Betting had this built by Blitzkrieg, by Nate, and they did a fantastic job. The way they had it, in my opinion, it wasn't a true Prerunner. Didn't carry enough fuel. These things only get like 5 miles a gallon at best. He had it for quite some time, and then he sold it to Adam Householder, and he did some modifications to it to make it to where it was, ready to pre-run Baja, pretty well. But I saw a lot of potential in this vehicle, and that's why I got it from Adam Householder. I made a lot of changes to it since, actually immediately, like right after I got it, I did a bunch of changes to it. I changed all the cooling system, the radiator, relocated the oil and transmission cooler. It needed more air. It had some scoops in here for the shocks to get air, but the shocks don't really get hot enough in this thing to need air because it's not going through San Felipe Zoo Road at 115. It'll go through there about 60. So I took this out, I flushed this out and made it smooth. I shaved the door handles. I took the mirrors off. I ended up putting a little mirror on it a little bit later, but I wanted to make it look a little bit sexier because it is a really, nice looking vehicle. I did NACA ducts right here. I've had a lot of experience with aerodynamics. I went to the GM Technicals to 2007 and did a lot of aerodynamic research with my own truck that I raced Rampage because it was awful aerodynamically. We made it a little bit better. This is, low pressure area, and it rams air into the cooling systems, both on the transmission side and the oil cooling side. The shocks were all 2.5s. I changed all the shocks to 3.5 bypass shocks, worked with King on that. I completely redesigned the dash to accommodate GPS. It was not very ergonomic when I got it. I'm big on ergonomics. I've soloed, a bunch of Baja 1000s, Ironman Baja 1000s, won a couple of them that way. As a driver, you only have so much energy that you can consume in a car. And so if it's more ergonomically appropriate, you get to use more of that. If it's a little bit harder to drive, it's a little bit more fatiguing. So I made it a little bit easier to drive for long distances with the shifter relocation. I rebuilt the gas and the brake pedal. The brake pedal's a stirrup design that I designed years ago.
And I noticed that on the other car over there too.
Yes.
On the race car. So that's probably one of the gnarlier brake pedals I've seen.
That's a performance upgrade as well as ergonomic upgrades. You know, when basketball players dunk, they don't go like all the way down and jump up and dunk the basket because they have all the power in their legs outside of 90 degrees. So I designed that to where I could have my leg at outside 90 degrees and be less fatiguing after hitting the brake pedal for, 20 hours or a long time.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't realize, like, off-road cars, most people drive them with 2 feet. Like, it's standard. I don't think there's people that drive them with just 1
how
foot.
we do it.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. I did some minor structural upgrades in the cab to make it a little bit stronger.
Was it missing some of the diagonal tubes in the upper case?
It was missing this.
Okay.
I think we did some stuff back there, but I wanted to make this stronger, this A-pillar, in case we took an impact right here. I switched out the seats. It had suspension seats in it.
The thing with the suspension seats I always like compare is they were great for cars that weren't going fast like this and didn't have high travel. And it's comparable to when you jump on a trampoline and someone boosts you.
Yeah.
And I feel like that boost you get is like when you G out like in a suspension seat and it like double bounces your back. It compounds what you're already going through. Yeah. So like the shell or the composite seat is beneficial because you're just one with the car and you just deal with it where it's not compacting more.
Spinal.
Okay, so we're in the depths here. You can see the NACA ducting and the hosing going. So is that an actual successful program that works? Like the hose, all that stuff is solid?
It works. The truck runs really cool. I don't have aeronometers, but it doesn't have a cooling problem. So it used to, but now it runs pretty good.
This truck is very utility. It's super comfortable riding in it, but it is absolutely a utility vehicle. And
100%.
It's when you start looking at it, like it's just kind of bare bones. Like there's carpet up front, but it's just a purpose-built truck. Can we open that back area? That opens up or no?
We're still working on that.
What does that mean?
There's some wiring that went away back there from the window.
He's one of us.
It's a neat little guy. So who built the dash?
We did it in-house. I think it was a handful of guys that helped with it. Basically, redoing as it relates to changes, structural enhancements, redoing the seats so that they're real race seats and they can take 10,000 pounds of energy and not hurt you.
Yep.
Dash, controls, brakes. We went to the Brembo 6-piston brakes. It had Willwoods on it. We pulled the motor out. It had like a really beat up, tired LS7 that made like 350 horsepower, very small horses. When it was built, they didn't have LS7. But as soon as I got it, I ripped it had a turbo 400 in it, and I put a 4L80E in it, so it's 4-speed, so I can drop the gearing, new transmission, 4-speed, LS7. LS7 was built by Danzio. Just recently tuned by Dugan's, runs better than it's ever have. So it makes, instead of 350 horse, it makes about 600 and 600 foot-pounds. Ring gear in the back was, I think, like a 429, but I'm able to go to like a 557 or something like that. It's got a pretty aggressive gear in it.
And EWR did that down there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
There she is. So one thing to note with the Blazer is it is a frame rail truck. As much as it appears to be kind of a tube chassis thing, it is a frame rail truck. I saw that it transitions right at the A-pillar here, like at the body mount, and then it'll go. It's pretty robust. It goes back to the C notch there. Yeah. So all the upper arm, the lowers, all the steering, the swing steer in there, that's all from Blitzkrieg before, right? That's the original equipment.
Yeah, and it steers really well too.
Yeah, and it's interesting how they kind of threaded the needle with the steering gear.
100%. We didn't do any suspension changes. This is one of their first builds, as far as I know. I don't know. You correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, definitely one of the earlier ones that was like a full tilt situation. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if they were to build another one, it would come out a lot better than this Prerunner. And this Prerunner is amazing.
Absolutely. And that's kind of just evolution naturally. I just wanted to go into like even chasing the steering shaft here. Yeah. So you can see that thing comes out of the firewall. Mm-hmm. Kind of runs a course here.
And then your box is actually in front behind the skid, and that's at an angle. And then you can see all the swing steer system, the center link, the swingers. And then the sway bar. Was the sway bar on it too?
Yeah, the sway bar was on it. We didn't touch that. It needed that
Yeah, for sure.
pretty bad because even with front and rear sway bars, it actually still has pretty substantial body roll. And because of the dynamics of how it's put together, because of the engine torque, and because of it being so short and so small, it turns better and it's more stable on the gas turning to the right than it is turning on the left.
Yeah, and something I noticed riding it too is it has body roll, but it has a limitation, like a constraint on the body roll.
Yes.
Where it doesn't just keep going; it kind of like reaches a limit.
Yeah.
Where then it's like the sway bars are engaged, and it doesn't want to keep going more.
Yes.
You know, like it does let you have some of that variance. Then it kind of caps out.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. I definitely wanted to put bigger shocks on it. It needed bigger shocks.
Sure.
So it went through the bumps better and it had a little bit more bottom out protection.
So yeah, all this stuff is kind of original equipment, like Blitz, even like the newer Blitz stuff runs like a bigger plate cross member, and then their other stuff incorporates the shocks. If you've noticed, like they have a wider spread and the shocks live on that cross member.
Okay.
And they bolt kind of down to the bottom, like there's provisions for that. So like you can pull that whole thing and the shocks are off that too.
In the newer Blitzkrieg stuff, you see the evolution of knowledge, right?
Totally.
And how they put stuff together. They do a really good job.
Yeah, and even like there's like this car is looks like all 1 3/4 and then 1.5 inches, like interlaced, like 1 3/4 mains.
Yeah.
And like with Blitz now, like all that stuff is 2 inch. It's all
the big
but I mean everybody runs that now with
Yeah, and it should be.
going faster. So you did the cat eye upgrade, right?
We redid the headlights, redid this grill. I named it LOKI. I named all of my race trucks and pre-runners. Doesn't seem fair just to like have Prerunner 1 or Prerunner 2 because
Absolutely not.
so much love goes into, passion goes into putting them together. In addition to that, it speeds up communication. Like LOKI needs a power steering pump, or Dark needs a power steering pump, or Rampage, or Nightmare, Dark, Fedor.
Yeah, and they get personalities like that.
They do. They
Totally.
do. My son and his stepmother, they're really into Avengers at the time, and I ran it past them. They loved it, so they thought it was really cool.
And I am burdened with glorious purpose.
So what I had mentioned to you, I asked BJ about valences. I don't know if it was a Laughlin race, but something. You had your truck and it had a dual valence on it, and nobody had seen it. And they're like, "What is that for?" And it was for aero, and you were one of the pioneers with that, right?
Yeah, they did. Andy McMillan was leaning on some of that stuff too. He went to a smaller wind tunnel. I got to go to the GM Technical Institute. It's a $500 million facility. I got invited to that, and if I would have had to pay to go there, it would probably have been $250,000. But they invited me. I brought the truck out to Detroit, and we did a bunch of R&D with and experimenting with aero. And valence is one of the things that makes a very, very big difference.
What does it do?
It makes the truck smaller, so to say, like going through the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Instead of packing up a bunch of air underneath the truck and slowing it down, it makes it a little bit more slippery, going through the atmosphere. These things are so awful aerodynamically that it doesn't take much to make a big difference in it.
Sure.
There's probably 26 or 27 things that we did to Rampage to increase its aerodynamic efficiency. I remember top speed was 131 miles an hour without the lights.
And what year was that?
That was 2006.
See, so you have to give it that too, because
Now it's different. Things have
Yeah.
changed, but back then, that's huge.
Yes.
Now it's just an aesthetic, to
Yeah.
like the pre-runners, it looks sick,
Yeah.
but it's all a derivative of functionality. It just didn't come
come from that. So it's the same kind of thing. Like they might see something on your car that looks, that's why they did that. But if they don't really know, then it's not going to lend itself to working properly,
Yeah.
or even being implemented the right way.
I never thought it looked cool.
I mean, there's ones that look better than others.
Yeah, I always liked when it was just a bumper and it was mean and it just looked like it was ready to go to war.
Tube.
And just smash everybody to pieces.
Sure.
But if it makes it go faster, it does make it go quite a bit faster because, like I was saying, top speed was 131 without the lights. It was 119 with the lights. And then with the lights, after I went to the tunnel, I was able to do 131 miles an hour. And then top speed at that time, after I went to the wind tunnel, was 141 miles an hour. So we made substantial increases in aerodynamics. And that doesn't make such a difference in top speed. It's 60 to 140. It will accelerate better, it'll get better traction, it'll go through the bumps a little bit better. So there's a bunch of different advantages in just making those changes to make the truck perform better. It has an exponential effect on, on performance.
Yeah. So the back of this thing, traditional 4-link, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people nowadays, like especially with some pickups, they want to put the shocks further back on the trailing arm to like not go in the cab or whatever. And
Yeah.
obviously, you don't have to worry about that here, you know.
Yeah, the whole vehicle is a cab from inside. You're never really going to get away from having the bypasses.
Totally.
Bypasses in the cab of this thing.
Yeah, and it's just nice and simple under here. It looks easy to work on. You know, it doesn't look like there's too much to it. Now, the fuel capacity thing, was that a householder modification?
Yeah,
They did that first?
Adam Household. He took care of that. You know, I think he had a 30 or 35 gallon fuel cell in it. Now it's got 65 gallons.
Yeah. What does that usually get you?
It depends, but 30 gallons doesn't get you anywhere.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
that gets you stranded out in the middle of the desert. I would say 170, 180 miles.
Gotcha.
You know, from,
So you talked about doing modifications out back here, right?
yeah.
So what did you go through back here?
Well, when I did everything except doing the rear tire mount, I had thought about doing it to make a little bit more room in the cab, and I think it would work a little bit better with that inertia and that mass in the back. Make
Yeah.
the rear tires fall to the ground a little bit better. And I kind of made it necessary to make that modification on my own because I was screwing around. I had my son in the back and my buddy in the truck, and it flies nose proud more than any other truck. I was like, you know, check this out. Like, I could hit something square. And there was an intersecting roadway in my neighborhood at the time, and I hit this square thing a little bit too fast. I was having a little bit too much fun. And the thing flew way too nose proud, landed on the rear bumper, gashed out the pavement, sparks everywhere, and smashed the rear bumper. Messed it up pretty good, so I had to rebuild it.
We talked briefly about 3,000 horsepower.
Yes.
Remember? That was a conversation now.
Yes.
Obviously, like, oh God! But like, you know, I think if this thing even had 1,500, what does it put to the wheels? It's in the
maybe like 400.
Okay, so the 660 or something that you talked about is at the crank, right? With the new motor?
600 at the crank, yeah.
Okay,
So
600.
it probably makes 450, 460 at the tire.
And it's direct because it's just so short. And it's like there's no, I don't know if the driveline is just not taking much from it or the drivetrain, so it's quick.
Yeah, it moves pretty good. It moves pretty good.
Yeah, so I mean, putting a big block of high cubic inch in there would be next level. And then you could really do wheelies.
Yeah, that would, yeah, honestly, if it had like 200 more horsepower, it would do wheelies, but I want to put like 600 more horsepower.
Yeah, double it.
Double it.
Yeah.
Well, that's what would make it.
And then you could put a transparent window on your floor. Dips. Just hit
Might have
dips
to
and do
put
that.
a wheelie bar on it.
There you go. Well, you have one. You just mount the spare the other way.
That's what I need to do, is mount the spare the other way.
It's been a pleasure being up here. This was like a special thing with BJ and Kyle and contacting us, and I'm like beyond grateful to. Like I said, I've loved pre-runners my whole life, so it's a life hack to me to be able to do this and come up and be involved with you and the car. And I love your passion for this, and obviously like I get a crazy boner for SUVs. I think we share the same boner.
Yeah,
for SUVs.
there's not too many of them. Right?
No, but like they're always cool. The SUVs in stock might not be the vibe, but when you just stretch them out a little bit and put tires and fenders on them, like it's like a RC car, like a something cool comes out of it.
Yeah, they look really cool.
Absolutely. So I appreciate just being up here, and thank you. You know, BJ's gonna get more into, instead of just the racing side of thing, he's gonna kind of trickle into, and I know you've already done like badass shit regardless, all the recoils, everything, but really get into like pushing more limits of just like I don't know what it would be called, not stunt driving, but just play stuff.
Yeah, like more lower production content. Recoil's such a big project. You know, like I want to make some content, do some fun stuff in this. People love seeing this.
Yeah.
So you know, we're gonna make some cool stuff with it in the future.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, like the nice production stuff, it is badass. But like at the bottom line, like we all just want to see people driving badass stuff and like pushing it or the car working, and it doesn't like the delivery is it can be raw.
Like the raw stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you have an angle there that's like untapped, and even being in the car with you, your driving is calculated and it's safe.
Thank you.
What it really is, it's not a compliment, it's the truth. Like that's how it feels. It doesn't feel like you're trying to showboat or show off or like, look what I can do. It's not any of that. It is like being conscientious about where stuff is, pre-running all the stuff, and then really taking efforts to use the thing responsibly. And I think that gets you far, you know, and it doesn't feel dangerous. But also, I think we should come up and shoot Vader. If you guys want us to shoot Vader, the other Prerunner, comment. Let us know. If there's other stuff you want to see with BJ, comment and let us know. And again, thank you.
Thank you.
Grateful. Seriously.
Thank you.
Like, comment, subscribe, you guys.